Chapter 1119. As Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, Han Shiling's face became gloomy, and her gaze towards Bailey Hongzhuang was filled with anger. "You dare to say that I'm stupid?" Han Shiling stared at Bailey Hongzhuang with a burning gaze. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang appeared, the situation was completely under the control of Bailey Hongzhuang. Now, Bailey Hongzhuang dared to say that she was stupid? Looking at Han Shiling's furious appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. "What's the problem? Do you know my identity? As long as I want you to die, you will definitely die a horrible death." Han Shiling's eyes flashed with a cold light. Bailey Hongzhuang's self-righteous appearance made her extremely unhappy, but in the face of the former's eloquent words, she actually couldn't fight back. "Other than using this to suppress me, do you have any other tricks? You're just an elder's granddaughter. I don't believe that you can cover the sky with one hand in Tiangang's sect." Bailey Hongzhuang's face became colder. Han Shiling had been looking for trouble, and she also lost her patience. Han Shiling's mistemper didn't have any deterrence to her. If Han Shiling really dared to make a move on her, she wouldn't have talked nonsense until now. In Tiangang's sect, both of them were the focus of everyone's attention. No matter who was in trouble, it couldn't be related to the other. "What's more, didn't you already send assassins to deal with me? It's just that the assassins you sent aren't strong enough." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were as cold as ice, and her words were even more aggressive. Han Shiling wasn't a kind person. When they met once, Han Shiling didn't hesitate to send assassins to deal with her. However, even if Han Shiling wanted to kill her, it would not be that easy. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had directly revealed this matter, Han Shiling's expression suddenly changed. He looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock and bewilderment. "What nonsense are you talking about?" At that time, she did find a mission to assassinate Bailey Hongzhuang. However, Shirtian Pavilion never sent any news, so she did not take it to heart. Later, when she found out that the first wave of assassins had been defeated, her mood changed. When Di Beichen went to look for Bailey Hongzhuang, she knew that she had no chance to make a move. She had been waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to be alone. However, Di Beichen was always by Bailey Hongzhuang's side, so this idea could only be put aside for the time being. However, what puzzled her the most was that the Heaven Slaughter Pavilion later sent a message saying that they refused to accept this mission. For this reason, the Heaven Slaughter Pavilion directly returned double the commission to her. For this point, Han Shiling couldn't understand it. The Heaven Slaughter Pavilion had always accepted all kinds of missions. Even for some extremely powerful cultivators, Shirtian Pavilion had never heard that they had no way to deal with them. Only some people with special identities would be rejected by the Heaven Slaughter Pavilion. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was not special at all. She really didn't understand why the Heaven Slaughter Pavilion would refuse. Even if Di Beichen was by Bailey Hongzhuang's side, as long as the two of them were separated, it was not difficult for the Heaven Slaughter Pavilion to take the life of an Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator. Seeing Han Shiling's secretive appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a sneer. "Now that things have come to this, what's there to not admit? It's a pity that your methods are not enough. I still came." Chapter 1120. When this thought surfaced, Han Shiling had already erased it. With Bailey Hongzhuang's status, she might not even know about the existence of Shirtian Tower. So how could she have anything to do with Shirtian Tower? After thinking about it, Han Shiling could only conclude that Di Beichen was the one who solved this matter. After all, Di Beichen's status was also very important. If Di Beichen had stepped in, then Shirtian Tower might have given up on this business deal. Thinking of this possibility, Han Shiling's face turned a little ugly. In that case, didn't it mean that Big Brother Di also knew about her actions? Han Shiling couldn't help but think of Di Beichen's cold attitude towards her. At this moment, she completely understood. "Bailey Hongzhuang, did you tell Big Brother Di about this matter?" Han Shiling's face was gloomy, her hands clenched into fists under her sleeves. All this time, she had maintained an excellent image in front of Big Brother Di. However, after this incident, her image in Big Brother Di's heart would be greatly reduced, and all of this was because of Bailey Hongzhuang. Looking at Han Shiling's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang had already understood Han Shiling's thoughts. If you don't want others to know, then don't do it. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't want to explain. This was the truth. When Han Shiling did this, she should have known the consequences of failure. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang indirectly admit to this matter, Han Shiling's expression became even uglier. In the next moment, the elemental energy in Han Shiling's body surged out. Her black eyes were filled with an extreme storm of anger. She couldn't wait to skin Bailey Hongzhuang and pull out her tendons. "I'm going to kill you," Han Shiling roared. At this moment, she couldn't care about anything else. She only wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling Han Shiling's murderous aura, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also turned cold. The elemental energy in her body also spread out. She and Han Shiling had long disliked each other. This conflict was unavoidable. A trace of silver light quietly appeared between her white and moist fingers. Although her current strength couldn't be compared to Han Shiling, there were many other factors besides strength in a real fight. It was absolutely not impossible for her to defeat Han Shiling. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were also ready to go. They were already very unhappy with Han Shiling. If it wasn't for their master wanting to solve Han Shiling, they would have already made Han Shiling regret living in this world. They also understood Master's thoughts very well. Master had many tricks up her sleeves. Just the use of poison alone was something that many people couldn't compare to. Han Shiling was simply courting death by competing with Master. However, Master didn't want to use such methods to get rid of Han Shiling. Master wanted to defeat Han Shiling fair and square in front of everyone, so that everyone would know that Master's strength wasn't inferior to Han Shiling's. Therefore, they had been holding back and not making a move. Master had always intended to wait until she returned from the selection competition before fighting Han Shiling face to face in Tiangang sect. She didn't expect Han Shiling to be so infuriated that he had already exploded. The battle between the two was on the verge of breaking out. However, just as the two were about to collide, Tao Tsongrong ran in from outside in a panic. "Miss, Great Elder asked Bailey Hongzhuang to go to the meeting hall," Tao Tsongrong shouted. Chapter 1121. Meeting Hall. Deep Beichun, the four hall masters, and the elders frowned slightly. "What do the four hall masters and elders want to talk to me about?" "Young sect master, you came back too late this time." Han Hongyi frowned. Every selection competition was a very important matter to the sect, and all the major sects needed to discuss the specific matters. Di Beichen came back late for this matter, and they were naturally dissatisfied. However, in the face of Han Hongyi's sigh, Di Beichen was unmoved. "As far as I know, the discussion of the selection competition will begin 3 days later, and the location of the discussion is not far from Tiangang sect. Isn't Great Elder making a fuss over nothing by saying this?" Di Beichen was calm, and his tepid words were full of warning and ridicule. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Han Hongyi was slightly stunned and then fell into silence. He did not know that Di Beichen had already known so much about the selection competition. "Young sect master, what do you mean by bringing Bailey Hongzhuang back to the sect this time?" Azure Dragon Hall Master Xiao Hongjin asked slowly. "Hongzhuang is my wife. What's wrong with me bringing her back?" Di Beichen asked matter-of-factly. Xiao Hongjin frowned slightly, and a look of dissatisfaction flashed in his eyes. "You're simply fooling around." "What do you mean, Hall Master Xiao?" Di Beichen looked at Xiao Hongjin indifferently with a mild expression. All along, Xiao Hongjin wanted to support his proud disciple, Ji Yangxia, to become the young sect master of Tiangang sect. As a result, his relationship with Xiao Hongjin was not good. If not for Xiao Hongjin's urging, he would not have left Tiangang sect. The reason why he left Tiangang sect in the past was because he could not stand up. In that case, even he could not guarantee whether he could stand up again in the future. He did not want his master's Tiangang sect to be affected because of him. Under such circumstances, he chose to leave. Now that he had stood up, he would not let Xiao Hongjin continue to be as arrogant as before. "You are the dignified young sect master of Tiangang sect. You actually took an unknown girl as your wife. Wouldn't this make the entire Tiangang sect become a joke in everyone's eyes? Xiao Hongjin sneered. Originally, he thought that Di Beichen's return would threaten them a lot. He didn't expect that after Di Beichen's return, things would become more and more unreliable. In particular, Di Beichen was so stubborn that he wanted to be with an ordinary woman. Wasn't this a joke? If Di Beichen and Han Schilling were together, then with the support of the First Elder, he really wouldn't be able to do anything to Di Beichen. However, Di Beichen had chosen to do so. Wasn't that the same as creating an opportunity for him? Palace Master Xiao is right. Young Sect Master, your actions have a great impact on Tiangang Sect, White Tiger Palace Master Jiang Yi said. Hearing this, Di Beichen's gaze quietly swept past Jiang Yi. Azure Dragon Palace Master and White Tiger Palace Master had always been on good terms. Xiao Hongjin and Jiang Yi also belonged to the same camp. Now that Xiao Hongjin was making trouble, Jiang Yi would naturally agree from the side. Di Beichen chuckled. I don't know how much impact this will have on Tiangang Sect. The two palace masters are thinking too seriously. Chapter 1122. Could it be that the two temple masters think that my ability is not enough to be the sect master of Tiangang Sect and need to find a prominent girl to marry? Di Beichen slammed his palm on the table. His handsome face was covered with a layer of ice at the moment, and he looked at Xiao Hongjin and Jiang Yi unkindly. Seeing Di Beichen's attitude, Xiao Hongjin and Jiang Yi were also slightly startled. Although they were extremely dissatisfied, they could not continue to speak. After all, Di Beichen was the real young master of Tiangang Sect. We naturally dare not question the ability of the young sect master. Jiang Yi said aloud. That's good. I don't need the two temple masters to worry about my private affairs. Di Beichen's face was slightly cold, and he did not give any face to the two temple masters at all. He had left Tiangang Sect for 3 years, and Xiao Hongjin and Jiang Yi's self-confidence had also swelled. Now, although he had regained the position of young sect master, these two people were no longer as humble as before, which made him extremely dissatisfied. However, these problems could not be solved in a short time. It would take some time for him to uproot the two temple masters, Xiao Hongjin and Jiang Yi. However, he believed that it was only a matter of time. Young sect master, when the sect master left, he asked us to help you manage Tiangang Sect. Don't you think you've gone too far? Xiao Hongjin looked unfriendly, and the depths of his eyes were surging with an unwilling light. When the sect master left, he felt that it was an excellent opportunity. As long as Di Beichen lost the qualification to inherit the position of sect master, then it would be much easier for Ji Yangxia to become the young sect master. Even if he could not become the sect master, as long as Ji Yangxia became the sect master in the future, his status would be unparalleled. However, before he could do anything, Di Beichen could no longer stand up. At first, he suspected that Di Beichen was faking it, but Di Beichen had stayed in Fengbo country for so long. He had long believed that Di Beichen would never return to Tiangang Sect in this lifetime. Who would have thought that he would actually come back now? Most importantly, Di Beichen had also changed a lot in the past 3 years. His thinking had become more meticulous, and his methods had become more outstanding, making it difficult for him to find an opportunity to attack him. That little sapling from back then had now grown into a big tree. It was no longer that easy to pull it down. Hearing this, Di Beichen chuckled. Palace Master Xiao, please remember your identity. Other than my master, no one else has the right to say anything about my marriage. Seeing that Di Beichen's words were so domineering and decisive, Xiao Hongjin's face turned ugly. He did not expect that Di Beichen would not give him any face. Just as Xiao Hongjin was about to continue speaking, Vermilion Bird Palace Master Qin, AI, spoke up. Palace Master Xiao, since this is the young sect master's private matter, you don't have to say anything more. After all, our Tiangang sect does not need a marriage alliance. If you say that, it will make our Tiangang sect seem weak. Qin AI's casual words were simple, but he was helping Di Beichen. Xiao Hongjin looked at Qin AI with dissatisfaction. Qin AI always had a smile on his face, but he knew that this guy was not someone to be trifled with. Seeing that Qin AI had already expressed his stance, Xiao Hongjin did not say anything more. If he continued, he would only be asking for a snub. Chapter 11:23. Seeing that Di Beichen was about to leave, Han Hongyi couldn't help but frown. He found that since Di Beichen came back from Fengbo country, he had changed a lot from the past. In this regard, Han Hongyi was not unable to understand. After all, when Di Beichen was forced to leave Tiangang's sect, his heart must be full of unwillingness and anger. Speaking of which, they didn't trust Di Beichen enough at the beginning. Otherwise, Di Beichen would not have such an attitude now. Wait, Han Hongyi suddenly said. Di Beichen's gaze fell on Han Hongyi's body, and his obsidian-like black eyes flashed with a touch of light. Great Elder, is there anything else? Young sect master, over the years, you should know Shi Ling's feelings for you. At this point, Han Hongyi had to come forward for Han Shiling. Han Shiling liked Di Beichen for a long time, but now Di Beichen seemed to be determined to be with Bailey Hongzhuang. He naturally couldn't watch the person his granddaughter liked be taken away by others. Seeing Han Hongyi mention this matter, Xiao Hongjin's eyes also lit up. This was a great opportunity. As long as Di Beichen completely offended Han Hongyi, then as long as the sect master did not come back, Di Beichen would have a lot of difficulty dealing with Tiangang's sect. Yes, Shi Ling is much better than Bailey Hongzhuang in any way. What's more, we watched Shi Ling grow up since she was a child, and she's your childhood sweetheart. Why do you want to hurt Shi Ling's heart like this? Xiao Hongjin frowned, and there was a bit of disappointment in his expression. He pretended to be a senior who really thought for the younger generation. Di Beichen lazily glanced at Xiao Hongjin's hypocritical appearance. For this guy, he even felt that it was a waste of time to say a word. Great Elder, I know Shi Ling's feelings, I'm sorry. Di Beichen said slowly. In addition to saying sorry, he couldn't say anything else. In this case, it didn't make any sense to say anything else. Seeing Di Beichen say such words without hesitation, Han Hongyi's brows were already twisted together. Today, he also saw Bailey Hongzhuang. He had to admit that this Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance and temperament was superb. Even so, he did not think that Bailey Hongzhuang was better than Shi Ling's. What's more, Di Beichen and Shi Ling grow up together since childhood. Could their friendship for so many years to know Bailey Hongzhuang? What's to be wrong? Han Hongyi to ask. Di Beichen's deep eyes flashed a touch of deep light, and his words revealed a bit of emotion. Great Elder, there's nothing wrong with Shi Ling, but she is not the person I want. This kind of thing was never a question of whether it was good or not, but a question of whether it was right. Han Hongyi stared at Di Beichen with a burning gaze. He wanted to know more from Di Beichen's expression, but he only saw firmness in Di Beichen's eyes. After understanding this, Han Hongyi's heart was also cold. He didn't know why Di Beichen was so persistent, but in such a case, Shi Ling was really hopeless. Young sect master, Shi Ling and you are a match made in heaven, but Bailey Hongzhuang is really unjustified. Even if our Tiangang sect doesn't care about background, personal strength is extremely important. Chapter 11:24. Jiang Yi's words were undoubtedly a bombshell in the meeting hall. Everyone's eyes fell on Di Beichen. Even someone as calm as Qin AI had an incredulous look on his face when he heard the news. Although Tiangang sect did not discriminate between sects, as the young sect master of Tiangang sect, he should at least have outstanding strength. As for trash, that was something that was simply unacceptable. What did you say? Bailey Hongzhuang is trash? Han Hongyi repeated Jiang Yi's words in disbelief. He did not investigate Bailey Hongzhuang's identity too much. In fact, before Di Beichen brought Bailey Hongzhuang back, he had always thought that Di Beichen was just being impulsive and fooling around. It was nothing at all. Naturally, he would not bother to inquire about the news. However, when he saw Di Beichen's affectionate and determined look when he mentioned Bailey Hongzhuang, he understood that Di Beichen was not being impulsive. He had really fallen in love with Bailey Hongzhuang. Qin AI's gaze also fell on Di Beichen. He had always admired Di Baichen and supported Di Baichen's decisions. Even if Di Baichen's wife was not famous in the Shengxian continent, he had never objected. However, if Bailey Hongzhuang was really a trash who could not cultivate, then he really could not accept it. Tiangang's sect had always respected strength. If the sect master's wife was an ordinary woman who did not even have the strength to truss a chicken, once the news spread, it would really be a joke. Not only that, but judging from Di Baichen's performance, Bailey Hongzhuang occupied a very important position in his heart. If Bailey Hongzhuang could not protect herself, then Bailey Hongzhuang would undoubtedly become Di Baichen's weakness. They would not allow such a weakness to exist. She's not trash. Di Baichen furrowed his brows and glanced at Jiang Yi with an unfriendly look. Her cultivation talent is outstanding, there is no doubt about it. Although Hongzhuang had always been called trash, he knew that Hongzhuang's cultivation talent was extremely outstanding. He even felt that Hongzhuang's cultivation talent was stronger than his. Just this time, Hongzhuang's improvement in the Bloodground Abyss was already amazing. As long as Hongzhuang was given enough time, she would definitely become famous in the Shengxian continent in the future. Young sect master, please don't lie to protect Bailey Hongzhuang. Jiang Yi pretended to be worried. Xiao Hongzhen and Jiang Yi glanced at each other quietly. Both of them looked proud of themselves. The older, the wiser. It was not as if they were unaware of what Di Baichen had done after his return. It would not be easy for Di Baichen to remove their strength. On the contrary, they would constantly cause trouble for Di Baichen. I'm telling the truth, Di Baichen said in a low voice. Palace Master Jiang is overthinking things. Han Hongyi and Qin Ai glanced at each other and said, let's invite Bailey Hongzhuang over first. Han Hongyi and Qin Ai both knew that Jiang Yi was not convinced by Di Baichen, but they also knew that Jiang Yi would not say such things without evidence. No matter what, they needed to confirm it first. Just as Han Hongyi was about to send someone to invite Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Baichen's voice suddenly rang out. Wait! As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes fell on Di Baichen. Chapter 1125. Di Baichen pursed his thin lips. His expression was unfathomable, and his eyes were deep and cold. In 3 years, Tiangang's sect had indeed changed a lot. He was no longer the young child from before. Han Hongyi's actions were tantamount to questioning his decision. As the young lord of Tiangang's sect, his words were not to be doubted. As Di Baichen's voice fell, Han Hongyi and the others were all stunned. They never forgot that Di Baichen was the young lord of Tiangang's sect, and his right to speak was far higher than theirs. Unconsciously, they thought that Di Baichen was the young lord from 3 years ago, who needed their help to make decisions. Now Di Baichen was completely different from before. Now he could make all decisions by himself. We dare not. Han Hongyi and the others bowed one after another under Di Baichen's imposing manner. When the sect master was not in the sect, the young lord represented the sect master. Di Baichen's gaze swept over Han Hongyi and the others, and finally fell on Jiang Yi. Hall Master Jiang, Hongzhuang is now my wife, and also the wife of the young lord of Tiangang's sect. You should know what kind of punishment you will receive for slandering the wife of the young lord. His cold gaze was like an ice blade that shot straight at Di Baichen. He had long disliked Jiang Yi and Jiang Yi. He had planned to wait until Hongzhuang participated in the selection competition before he dealt with them. But since Jiang Yi could not hold back now, he would not be polite. The low and warning words exploded in Jiang Yi's ears, and Jiang Yi's face instantly turned ugly. Di Baichen had now completely put on the airs of the young lord, but in terms of identity, he could not refute Di Baichen at all. Since you don't believe it, I'll let you see the truth with your own eyes, but you must be mentally prepared for this punishment. If such a statement appears again in the future, I will hold you accountable. Di Baichen's voice was resolute and powerful. He immediately waved his hand, and that person hurried out of the meeting hall to inform Bailey Hongzhuang. His wife had always been his pride. Since these fellows dared to question Hongzhuang, then he would let everyone know the truth. From now on, no one would dare to question her again. Jiang Yi's face was gloomy, and his eyes flashed with a malicious and resentful light. Although Di Beichen spoke with certainty, he did not believe him. The news he received was definitely not fake. Otherwise, Di Beichen would not be so angry. Han Hongyi was also bewildered. Jiang Yi's words couldn't be groundless, but Di Beichen's resolute expression didn't seem to be joking. The selection competition was imminent, but Di Beichen brought Bailey Hongzhuang back to Tiangang's sect. Could it be that he wanted Bailey Hongzhuang to stay in Tiangang's sect in the future? For a moment, the entire meeting hall quieted down. Everyone's thoughts were different. They could only wait for Bailey Hongzhuang to come before they would know. With the appearance of Tao Tsongrong, the fight between Han Xiling and Bailey Hongzhuang was forced to stop. Han Xiling looked at Tao Tsongrong in puzzlement. You said that grandfather asked Bailey Hongzhuang to go to the meeting hall? Tao Tsongrong immediately nodded. I just received news that Bailey Hongzhuang is to go to the meeting hall immediately. Chapter 11:26. Go to the meeting hall. Consider yourself lucky this time. You won't be so lucky next time. Han Xiling said coldly. Hearing Han Xiling's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a mocking smile. You're the lucky one. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be bothered with Han Xiling and immediately walked out of Di Beichen's house. Thinking about it, what awaited her in the meeting hall was yet another Hongmin banquet. She could mostly guess what those old fellows in the sect were thinking. As for the situation in Tiangang's sect, Di Beichen had also explained it to her. Among the four halls, the Azure Dragon Hall and White Tiger Hall's hall masters were disloyal. Usually, they would think of ways to deal with Di Beichen in hopes of making Ji Yangxia the young sect master. The Vermilion Bird Hall and Black Tortoise Hall's hall masters supported Di Beichen. The Great Elder was not part of the four halls and also had a lot of strength. Back then, when the sect master left, Di Beichen was only a 15-year-old youth. At that time, he put all his energy into cultivation and didn't have enough understanding of the sect's affairs. The sect master's departure was very sudden. At that time, he took over Tiangang's sect with the help of the Great Elder and the four hall masters. However, although his talent wasn't weak at that time, he was too young. It wasn't easy to rely on his own strength to stabilize his position. Di Beichen left Tiangang's sect, mainly because of the Azure Dragon Hall and White Tiger Hall's hall masters. Now, although Di Beichen wanted to uproot these two people from Tiangang's sect, it wasn't something that could be done overnight. Thinking about it, her appearance today gave these two people a good opportunity to make a big fuss out of nothing. Master, I feel that Han Xiling's grandfather isn't a good person. They'll probably target you in the meeting hall, right? Xiao Hei's eyes were filled with worry. Annoying people were everywhere. From the first time it saw Han Hongyi, it felt that Han Hongyi wasn't a good person. Bailey Hongzhuang's clear and bright eyes were filled with ease and indifference. She said indifferently, counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. Even if they really want to target me, they can't do anything with Di Beichen around. She understood that if Di Beichen wanted to completely control the entire Tiangang sect, he had to get rid of these old, stubborn people. But now, she didn't mind going with Di Beichen to solve it. After all, Di Beichen's identity as young lord was enough to make them not dare to act rashly. Those old fellows will definitely use this as an excuse to make a fuss, but I believe that master can make them even more unhappy. Whitey rubbed its fists, and its eyes flickered with a few strands of excitement. It was very clear about its master's methods of slapping people's faces. It was not an easy task to bully master. Even if those old fellows wanted to do this, it would be very difficult. Get rid of them all. Xiaobai waved its two claws. Get rid of all those people who don't like it. There's no room for discussion. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. A thoughtful look flashed across her eyes, as if she was seriously considering Xiaobai's words. If it really doesn't work, then get rid of them all. It wasn't easy for Di Beichen to get rid of some annoying fellows. However, killing people was never a complicated matter. Even if these old fellows were very powerful, it would be very difficult for her to make a move without anyone noticing. but it wasn't impossible. Chapter 11:27. What's the problem? Han Shilling's voice was icy cold. If it had not been for Tao Tsongrong's sudden appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang would have become a corpse by now. Looking at Han Shilling's nonchalant manner, Tao Tsongrong's eyes were filled with helplessness. My lady, if Bailey Hongzhuang dies, won't you become a murderer? Previously, young sect master had specially asked you to bring Bailey Hongzhuang here because he had determined that you would not be able to do anything. Di Beichan liked Bailey Hongzhuang so much, so naturally, he would not allow anything to happen to Bailey Hongzhuang in Tiangang's sect. He clearly knew that Han Shilling and Bailey Hongzhuang did not have a good relationship, but he still asked Han Shilling to bring Bailey Hongzhuang here. This was because if anything were to happen to Bailey Hongzhuang, it would definitely be Han Shilling's responsibility. If someone else had brought Bailey Hongzhuang here, Han Shilling would only need to play some tricks, and she would not be implicated at all. However, this would not work now. She thought that her lady had already understood this point. At this time, she would at most lecture Bailey Hongzhuang verbally, so that Bailey Hongzhuang would retreat in the face of difficulties. Who would have thought that her lady would actually make a move? Hearing Tao Tsongrong's words, Han Shilling was stunned. She had not thought of this. Previously, she had been too angry with Bailey Hongzhuang's actions to the extent that she had only wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang disappeared from this world, this matter would be resolved once and for all. At this moment, after hearing Tao Tsongrong's words, she finally understood and could not help but feel a lingering fear. If she had really killed Bailey Hongzhuang, she was afraid that Big Brother D would no longer care about her. Even though Han Shilling was a little emotional, he did not show it on his face. Since Bailey Hongzhuang has already gone to the conference hall, why don't we also go to the conference hall to take a look? Grandpa has always known her feelings. This time Di Beichan brought Bailey Hongzhuang back with great fanfare. She was afraid that the whole Tiangang zone was looking at her as a joke. She believed that her grandfather would not sit idly by. Now that everyone in the meeting hall was definitely against Bailey Hongzhuang becoming Big Brother D's wife, she naturally could not miss such a good show. Since Bailey Hongzhuang did not believe what she said, then she would see if Bailey Hongzhuang could still be so calm when everyone else said the same thing. Master, that Han Shilling is following behind us. Xiao He turned around to look at Han Shilling, who was behind her. Her feelings towards this woman who appears aloof on the surface, but has a vicious heart, could no longer be described with the word loathing. This Hongmin banquet would definitely become more complicated with Han Shilling's participation. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head slightly. When she saw the two figures behind her, the cold smile on the corners of her lips deepened. She was the one who had caused all this trouble. Naturally, she wouldn't miss this opportunity. However, even if she did that, it wouldn't change anything. It's not necessarily a bad thing for her to see things clearly earlier. Han Shilling had always believed that as long as everyone supported her and Di Beichan being together, she would definitely succeed. However, she had been wrong. She had never judged matters of the heart in this way. Of course, Han Shilling's biggest mistake was that she had overlooked Bailey Hongzhuang's power. In the conference hall. Chapter 11:28. It wasn't until the moment Bailey Hongzhuang appeared in the assembly hall that the rigid atmosphere in the assembly hall changed a little. The gazes of the four palace masters and the elders all fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. This young woman was the main reason why they held the assembly hall today. When Xiao Hongjin and the others saw Bailey Hongzhuang, their eyes couldn't help but flash with surprise, amazement, and doubt. The image of Bailey Hongzhuang was quite different from what they had imagined. Although the young miss of an ordinary dynasty's general's estate had a good status in Fengbo country, but in their eyes, she was at most a pretty daughter of a humble family. However, the Bailey Hongzhuang in front of them didn't look like a pretty daughter of a humble family. She was wearing a white dress that was elegant and plain. It was obviously a very simple dress, but it gave people a kind of extraordinary and stunning feeling. Her beautiful face was like the most meticulous masterpiece of God, perfect without a trace of flaw. Even though they had seen countless people, when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang, they still couldn't help but be stunned. Chapter 1129. Xiao Hongzhen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. He did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so smart. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang sat next to Di Beichun, then everyone present would be dissatisfied with Bailey Hongzhuang. However, after Di Beichun said this, Bailey Hongzhuang calmly and politely refused, and her words were full of respect for everyone. This point alone was enough to make everyone have a good impression. He couldn't help but wonder if this was a strategy discussed by Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang. But at this moment, even if it was really discussed, so what? Thinking of this, Xiao Hongzhen couldn't help but give Jiang Yi a look. Now he and Jiang Yi were grasshoppers tied on the same rope. A large part of the reason why Di Beichun left Tiangang sect was because of them. Now that Di Beichun was back, he would inevitably treat them as a thorn in his side. Even if Di Beichun had not been back for long, they could feel Di Beichun's dissatisfaction with them. Therefore, they only had one way left. If they couldn't support Di Beichun to sit on the position of young sect master, once Di Beichun's position was completely stabilized and he successfully became the sect master in the future, then their days would be difficult. Seeing Xiao Hongzhen's look, Jiang Yi immediately understood and immediately said, "Miss Bailey, I heard that you have always been a waste in Fengbo country who can't cultivate." When Bailey Hongzhuang heard Jiang Yi's words, she understood that this guy was thinking of a way to deal with her. In a short moment, everyone's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. This question was the focus of their attention. According to everyone's thoughts, if this matter was true, then Bailey Hongzhuang would be very nervous and even guilty when she heard this question. If this was fake, then Bailey Hongzhuang would definitely be angry and dissatisfied. However, the situation was different from what everyone had guessed. Bailey Hongzhuang just smiled faintly. Her beautiful face was even more gentle and moving, making people's hearts sway. When I was young, there was indeed a problem with my dantian. As a result, I was unable to cultivate for a period of time. However, it has already recovered. This was a fact. As long as they sent people to investigate, they would definitely find out about it. It was better to admit it openly than to hide it. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent answer, everyone believed in Bailey Hongzhuang even more. Since he's already been cured, Palace Master Jiang shouldn't bring this matter up again. There was a faint smile on Qin Ai's face. Her initial worries had quietly dissipated with Bailey Hongzhuang's answer. On the contrary, he had a good impression of Bailey Hongzhuang. If she had been an ordinary woman, she would have been very nervous when faced with such questions from the crowd. How could she possibly be as calm and collected as Bailey Hongzhuang? Di Beichun really did not disappoint. Even though he had stayed in Fengbo country for 3 years, he had still managed to unearth a treasure. Hearing Qin Ai's accusatory words, Jiang Yi's expression turned ugly. He never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be so calm. However, he did not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang's dantian had really recovered. "Miss Bailey, words have no proof. Not just anyone can become the young master's wife. If you're unable to cultivate and have lied to us, then..." Jiang Yi did not finish his sentence, but everyone could tell from the look in his eyes. "Palace Master Jiang, are you suspecting that I'm lying?" Bailey Hongzhuang retorted. Chapter 1130. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly as she looked at Jiang Yi's troubled expression. She looked carefree and calm. "There's no way I can hide this. I'm currently at Orange Realm Level 1. You can easily tell that I'm at Orange Realm Level 1. Bailey Hongzhuang was calm. Although she was no match for Han Xiling, she was still at Orange Realm Level 1 at her age. Her talent in cultivation was not bad. Therefore, she could tell him her true strength without hesitation. When Jiang Yi wanted to use this point to attack her, Jiang Yi had already made a big mistake. Everyone saw a faint orange glow appearing in Bailey Hongzhuang's palm. They immediately understood that Bailey Hongzhuang was really at Orange Realm Level 1. When Jiang Yi saw the orange light flashing in Bailey Hongzhuang's hand, his face suddenly changed, and his eyes widened as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. From what he knew, Bailey Hongzhuang was a good-for-nothing who could not cultivate until she was 15 years old. How could she have become an Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator? That was a huge change. Bailey Hongzhuang's aura made everyone understand her true strength. Compared to Bailey Hongzhuang's calm expression, everyone felt that Jiang Yi's suspicious behavior was despicable. Thinking about it, the fact that Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't cultivate in the past was not a good thing for her. It was just that this matter had already passed, but Jiang Yi still wanted to bring it up. Wasn't this just exposing people's scars? Poking at someone's scars was something that no one present would like. Palace Master Jiang. Now that things have come to this, you should believe me, right? Bewitching's voice was heard. His sharp eyes shone with a cold and iron-blooded light. His every move was filled with the natural dominance of a king. Jiang Yi's face turned pale. This was completely out of his expectations. He could still remember Bewitching's angry face. It seemed like he would be severely punished this time. Xiao Hongxian frowned as he looked at Jiang Yi. He thought that Jiang Yi would give Bewitching a fatal blow. Who would have thought that it was not the case at all? On the contrary, what he did helped Bailey Hongzhuang. If they had known that Bailey Hongzhuang was at Orange Realm Level 1, they would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was not strong enough. Now, with Jiang Yi's words, everyone knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had a problem with her Dantian and couldn't cultivate. Now that she had broken through to the first level of the Orange Realm, didn't it mean that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation talent was extremely outstanding? Sensing the dissatisfaction in Xiao Hongxian's eyes, Jiang Yi felt even more depressed. This was also beyond his expectations. I want to go in. At this moment, Han Shiling's voice was heard outside the meeting hall. Han Shiling was in a bad mood. She would not miss the opportunity to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang. However, she did not expect to be stopped outside the door. Miss Han, you are not allowed to enter the meeting hall without permission, the gatekeeper said. The meeting hall was always used to discuss important matters of the sect. Ordinary people were not allowed to enter. Even though Han Shiling had a high position in Tiangang's sect, Han Shiling was not allowed to enter this place as she wished. Chapter 1131. No way. The gatekeeper didn't give Han Shiling any face at all. When it came to the core of the sect, he absolutely couldn't let anyone in. Otherwise, the person who would be punished would be him. Seeing that the gatekeeper was so unreasonable, Han Shiling's cold and moving face couldn't help but show a touch of anger. If it was a normal day, she wouldn't enter the conference hall at all, but today's matter in the conference hall had a lot to do with her. This guy blocked her and didn't let her in, really hateful. Seeing this scene, Tao Tsongrong couldn't help but whisper in Han Shiling's ear, "Miss, why don't you try shouting?" Since this matter had a lot to do with Miss, and Great Elder was in the conference hall, as long as he heard Miss's words, he would definitely let her in. Listening to Tao Tsongrong's words, Han Shiling's eyes lit up. Indeed, this was the best way. I want to go in. Han Shiling raised his voice and shouted at the closed door of the conference hall. The soundproofing of the conference hall had always been very good. It was precisely because of this that it was impossible for others to know the content of the discussion in the conference hall from outside the door. Therefore, when Han Shiling shouted, he also expanded his voice to the maximum. With the support of Yuan Li, it could be transmitted into the conference hall. Listening to Han Shiling's words, everyone in the conference hall couldn't help but look at Han Hongyi. The discussion in the conference hall had always been taboo to be disturbed. Han Shiling grew up in Tiangang's sect since he was a child. Now that he actually shouted outside the door, everyone couldn't help but frown. Han Hongyi was also a little surprised, but he also understood that Han Shiling must have wanted to know the situation, so he did this. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was standing by the side, Han Hongyi's heart also had some emotions. No wonder Xiling couldn't win against Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang had always been calm and polite so far. Compared to her, Xiling was much worse in these aspects. Let me in quickly. Han Shiling saw that there was no result after he shouted, so he couldn't help but continue shouting. No matter what, she must participate in today's meeting. Only when she was present could everyone understand the gap between her and Bailey Hongzhuang. She believed that everyone would choose to stand on her side. Hearing Han Shiling's shouts, the frowns on everyone's faces became deeper and deeper. Such a loud commotion outside the assembly hall was truly inappropriate. Black Tortoise Hall Master Gu Jingqing couldn't help but say, "Great Elder, it doesn't seem appropriate for Shi Ling to shout outside the door like this." Hearing Gu Jingqing's words, Han Hongyi felt a little helpless. His granddaughter had been spoiled by him. However, he never felt that there was anything wrong with it. After all, in terms of cultivation, Han Shiling had always done well. With the current situation, Han Shiling would definitely not be satisfied if he did not come in. Thinking of this, Han Hongyi couldn't help but look at Di Beichun and said, "Young Sect Master, I wonder if you can let Shi Ling in?" "Young Sect Master, you have always known Shi Ling's feelings for you. If it were on a normal day, Shi Ling would not make a lot of noise outside the conference hall. Since today is about love, why don't you let her in?" Xiao Hongjin quickly said. Now, they didn't know how to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang. Only after Han Shiling came there might be a way to change the situation. Chapter 1132. As Han Hongyi and Xiao Hongjin's words fell, the other elders present also voiced their agreement. After all, they had watched Di Beichun and Han Shiling grow up. If Han Shiling could really be together with Bailey Hongzhuang, they would also be very happy. Now that Di Beichun already had someone he liked, one could imagine how Han Shiling felt. Since it had already come to this step, it was better to let Han Shiling understand it. It could be regarded as an understanding of this matter. Di Beichun didn't care about other people's comments. His gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Han Shiling's previous actions had really disappointed him. At this point, he also understood that if he didn't show enough determination, he would really harm Han Shiling. Of course, he was more concerned about Hongzhuang's feelings. Noticing Di Beichun's gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and nodded quietly. Since Han Shiling wanted to come in, even if they stopped Han Shiling, she wouldn't stop. This trouble, it was better to take advantage of today's opportunity to completely solve it. With Han Shiling's proud personality, if Di Beichun rejected her in front of everyone, Han Shiling probably wouldn't have the face to continue pursuing Di Beichun in Tiangang sect. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang didn't object, Di Beichun said, "Let her in." After Han Shiling shouted for a while, the door of the meeting hall finally opened. A touch of joy lingered on that beautiful face. Han Shiling immediately walked into the meeting hall. She knew that Big Brother Di still had her in his heart. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, Han Shiling just glanced at her in disgust and then walked to Han Hongyi's side. Everyone's gaze fell on Han Shiling. Han Hongyi looked at Han Shiling, and there was a bit of helplessness between his eyebrows. Di Beichun's attitude was too determined and persistent. Now that Shi Ling was here, he didn't know whether it was good or not. If Shi Ling could stop thinking about him, it might not be a bad thing. He was most worried that Shi Ling would be stubborn. "Young Sect Master, all of us are optimistic that Han Shiling will be your wife. Do you really want to take a woman with no status as your wife?" Xiao Hongjin immediately said. He wanted to take advantage of this good opportunity to create a rift between Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun. It was best to let Han Shiling completely give up. In this way, once Di Beichun lost everything, it would be much easier for him to make a move. Looking at Han Shiling, everyone's expression also changed a bit, revealing a bit of complexity. After all, Han Shiling and Di Beichun had always been a golden couple in their eyes. Although Bailey Hongzhuang's performance was also outstanding, they had more feelings for Han Shiling. Seeing Xiao Hongjin's words, Di Beichun's eyes also showed a touch of displeasure. This old guy, now he was really doing things more and more blatantly. "Palace Master Xiao, you seem to think too highly of yourself. Do you think it's useful just because you are optimistic?" Di Beichun pursed his thin lips, and his voice was cold and majestic. Xiao Hongjin's face darkened. Di Beichun's words were a slap in the face. However, Han Shiling's face was even more ugly. Di Beichun's words were rejecting her in front of everyone. Han Hongyi saw Di Beichun say such words, and there was a touch of anger in his eyes. Chapter 1133. Young Sect Master, we are all your elders here. What's wrong with giving some opinions? Han Hongyi raised his voice, and his dignified and weathered face was filled with anger. When the sect master left, he handed you over to us. Even when the sect master was here, he was very optimistic about you and Shi Ling being together. Now that you have taken the initiative to find a girl back, we have nothing to object to. With Han Hongyi's words, the expressions of all the elders and temple masters present change a little. They didn't expect that after Han Shilling came, Han Hongyi's attitude would change so much. However, they also understood that Han Hongyi had always been protective. Han Shilling was his lifeblood, so this approach was not unexpected. Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing couldn't help but frown. Han Hongyi's words seemed to be too harsh. When it came to matters of love, as elders, they naturally had people who were optimistic, but they couldn't force Di Beichen. Xiao Hongjin and Jiang Yi looked at each other, and there was a burst of joy in their hearts. This was the situation they wanted to see most. The corners of Di Beichen's mouth hooked up in a devilish smile, and his dark, deep eyes surged with a gloomy luster. Great Elder, since you also said that it was an opinion, what's wrong with me not accepting it? Seeing Han Hongyi taking advantage of his seniority, Di Beichen's words became more and more impolite. As the young sect master of Tiangang's sect, he even let others intervene in this kind of thing. Then, he didn't need to be the young sect master anymore. Hearing this, Han Hongyi's face became even more ugly. Just as Han Hongyi was about to refute, Di Beichen's voice had sounded again. There's no need to say anything else. If Great Elder is not happy with my decision, then how about you be the sect master of Tiangang's sect? Bang! Di Beichen slammed his palm on the table, and the good table was directly shattered. Di Beichen didn't blink, and his cold eyes stared straight at Han Hongyi. The domineering and noble aura of a superior person permeated the air, and the entire meeting hall seemed to be enveloped by a layer of pressure. As soon as these words came out, all the elders and hall masters present knelt down. Di Beichen's words showed that Di Beichen was really angry. The situation had become serious. Your subordinate doesn't dare. Han Hongyi's face turned red. Although he was in a bad mood, he could only bow his head when Di Beichen suppressed his identity. When Han Shilling saw Di Beichen treating Han Hongyi in such a manner, she gradually clenched her fists under her sleeves. Previously, Di Beichen's words had completely rejected her. Now that he said such words again, he was not giving her any face at all. Didn't this mean that if she wanted Big Brother Di to marry her, her grandfather would have to be the sect master of Tiangang sect? This was simply an impossible matter. In that case, it would be impossible for Big Brother Di to like her. When Han Shilling understood this, her face turned pale, and she felt as if her heart had been violently smashed. She simply couldn't believe what she had just heard. She liked Di Beichen so much, yet Di Beichen had used such a decisive and cruel method to reject her in front of everyone. Her originally proud heart was instantly shattered into pieces. She was such a high and mighty woman, yet she was now abandoned like a worn-out shoe. Her gaze fell upon Bailey Hongzhuang, who was standing at the side, and an indescribable hatred rose in Han Shilling's heart. Chapter 1134. Great Elder, the young sect master has his own ideas. Let's not stop him. Qin Ai had a faint smile on his face. The atmosphere was so stiff that he could only stand up and smooth things over. That's right. Since the sect master is not here, the young sect master represents the sect master. Since the young sect master has someone he likes as elders, we only need to give our blessings to the young sect master. After Qin Ai spoke, Gu Jingqing's voice also rang out. He knew that this matter was completely caused by Xiao Hongjin and Jiang Yi, and they were also very clear about their wishful thinking. Back then, the young sect master was forced to leave because of his leg disease, and he and Qin Ai were helpless. Now that the situation had changed, they naturally could not let Xiao Hongjin and Jiang Yi cause trouble. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up the situation in front of her. Whether it was Xiao Hongjin, Jiang Yi, or Han Hongyi, they were all people who took advantage of their seniority. Although they were all afraid of Di Beichen's identity on the surface, they were obviously not so convinced. Bailey Hongzhuang was not surprised by this. When the sect master left, Di Beichen was indeed too young and did not know enough about the affairs of the sect. He must have needed the support of the temple masters and the elders. From then on, the current situation must have been destined. What's more, Di Beichen had been away for 3 years. During the 3 years when Di Beichen was away, the Great Elder and the 4 temple masters had always been in charge of Tiangang's sect. They were used to having great power. Now that Di Beichen had returned and taken back all this power, their dissatisfaction could be imagined. It was not easy for Di Beichen to be able to regain the status of Tiangang sect's young sect master in such a short time. She could imagine that Di Beichen must have gone through a difficult power struggle when he returned to Tiangang's sect from Fengbo country. Now, Di Beichen was indeed sitting firmly in the position of young sect master, but there were still many problems that had not been solved. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang understood how much Di Beichen had paid before to accompany her to cultivate outside. If Di Beichen had stayed in Tiangang's sect after returning, the situation would have improved a lot. Speaking of it, she made Di Beichen worried and also affected Di Beichen's power in Tiangang's sect. Han Hongyi's eyes fell on Han Xiling. He wanted to stand up for Xiling, but now Di Beichen was pressuring him with the identity of the young sect master. He was helpless. Just as Han Hongyi was about to speak, Han Xiling's voice had already sounded. Di Dage, even if you like Bailey Hongzhuang, you can't be too biased. Han Xiling's face was cold, and her eyes flashed with jealousy and hatred. With Han Xiling's voice, everyone's eyes could not help but fall on Han Xiling. Since Han Xiling began to speak in the assembly hall, this was the first time she had spoken. Even if you want to marry Bailey Hongzhuang, at least you should wait until the sect master comes back. Before that, Bailey Hongzhuang can't stay in Tiangang's sect. The rules of Tiangang's sect are well known. If Bailey Hongzhuang wants to stay here, then she should pass the assessment competition. If it's just because of your relationship, then it will be talked about. Han Xiling glared at Bailey Hongzhuang in disgust. Things had come to this. Bailey Hongzhuang did not let her be happy. She would not let Bailey Hongzhuang be happy. I don't know if the hall masters and elders think that I am right. Chapter 1135. Hearing Han Xiling's words, Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing looked at each other and couldn't help but frown. Originally, this wasn't a big deal, but now that Han Xiling had brought it up in front of everyone and made it sound reasonable, they couldn't refute it. As everyone knew, Di Beichen was brought up by the sect leader. If Di Beichen didn't inform the sect leader about his marriage, it would be too unfilial. Most importantly, they didn't know when the sect leader would return. At the sect leader's level of cultivation, he had always been searching for opportunities to break through in various places in the Shengxian continent. Han Xiling's words were equivalent to delaying Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang's wedding indefinitely. They didn't know when it would end. Although Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang were already married in Fengbo country, Di Beichen was only a prince of Fengbo country at that time. His identity was completely different from his current one. The marriage of the Tiangang sect's young sect leader was definitely a joyous occasion. It couldn't be so obscure. As a result, Bailey Hongzhuang could only stay in the Tiangang sect and participate in the assessment competition. They all knew that although the assessment competition was just an assessment, it was full of risks. Many cultivators would fall in every assessment competition. The number of deaths and injuries had always been high. Once Bailey Hongzhuang fell in the assessment competition, Han Xiling's wishful thinking would be fulfilled. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang survived the assessment competition safely, if she didn't achieve the results required to enter the Tiangang sect, she wouldn't be able to marry in the future. Han Xiling's words were really calculated, causing Bailey Hongzhuang to fall into an extremely awkward situation. After hearing Han Xiling's words, Xiao Hongjin and Jiang Yi couldn't help but have a look of amazement in their eyes. They didn't expect Han Xiling to be so smart. This move was really amazing. Why didn't they think of this before? After Han Hongyi understood this point, he also understood Han Xiling's idea. However, at this moment, he was in full agreement. Bewitching's attitude was too much. Since Bewitching didn't give them any face, they didn't need to be polite either. His granddaughter had always been the object of admiration for many young elites. Now, she was actually being despised by Bewitching. This was truly hateful. I don't know when the sect master will return. I'm afraid we need to discuss this matter properly, Qin AI said. Seeing Qin AI speak up for Bewitching, Xiao Hongjun immediately said, I think what Han Ling said is right. The sovereign's kindness to the little sect lord is as heavy as a mountain. How can the little sect lord get married when the sovereign has not returned? The wedding can wait for the sect master to return, but since Miss Bailey is already the young master's wife, there's no need for her to participate in this assessment, Gu Jingqing said. Jiang, he shook his head. Miss Bailey wants to become the young sect master's wife of Tiangang's sect, so she naturally has to prove her strength. If she can't even pass such a simple assessment, then the gap is too big. I believe Miss Bailey's strength can't be so weak. Palace Master Gu, don't tell me you don't have confidence in Miss Bailey? Jiang Yi's face was filled with a smug smile. Qin AI and the others had forced him into such a situation, so he naturally wouldn't let them off easily. Chapter 1136. Bewitching watched the discussion without saying a word. Xiao Hongjun and Jiang, he had always been at odds with him. Now, they were naturally trying to create problems for him. Now that he had returned to Tiangang's sect, he should properly deal with these problems. Previously, he had already gotten hold of some information that could be used against them, but he had not had the time to deal with it. These guys thought that he could not do anything to them. Very soon, he would let Xiao Hongjun and the others see his methods. Master, this Han Xiling is really despicable. Xiao He gritted her teeth as she glared at Han Xiling. The more she looked at this woman, the more she hated her. Usually, I don't see Han Xiling being so smart. Now that she's been provoked, her brain is working faster. Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with displeasure. Han Xiling was always thinking of ways to create problems between Master and Bewitching. She was really despicable. Fortunately, Master originally intended to participate in the assessment competition. This guy's wishful thinking is wrong. By sure side, from the beginning, Master had never intended to enter Tiangang's sect directly. Instead, she intended to enter legitimately after passing the assessment competition. Previously, they had thought that Master was being too serious. Now, it seemed that Master's thinking was correct. If she could not enter Tiangang's sect legitimately, these guys would keep bringing up these problems. Only with a legitimate reason would she not be afraid of any rumors. Han Xiling looked at Bailey Hongzhuang proudly. Her black eyes flashed with a proud and gratified light. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't tell me that you don't have the courage to participate in the assessment competition. Han Xiling was a little proud. When she thought of Bailey Hongzhuang's smug face in front of her, she felt really unhappy. She wanted to see if Bailey Hongzhuang could still maintain her previous calmness after she brought up this matter. If you don't participate in the assessment competition, we can't acknowledge your existence. Han Hongyi's voice followed. If she wanted to be the young master's wife of Tiangang Zone, she must use her strength to convince everyone. Han Hongyi didn't hide his dissatisfaction with Bailey Hongzhuang at all. All of a sudden, all the pressure and questions were directed at Bailey Hongzhuang. Xiao Hongjun chuckled as he looked at Bewitching. Things had become so irreconcilable that it must have exceeded Bewitching's expectations. However, when Xiao Hongjun raised his head, he did not see the slightest bit of panic on Bewitching's face. On the contrary, the devilish smile on Bewitching's lips quietly widened, revealing a dense, evil aura and a sense of victory. Facing everyone's oppressive gazes, Bailey Hongzhuang also revealed a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Han Xiling with her deep almond-shaped eyes. She was not afraid at all. Miss Han, you're thinking too much. I've always been very confident in myself. As for you using such a despicable method to provoke me, it's useless. Because this time, I returned to Tiangang Zone with Bewitching to participate in the assessment competition. With Bailey Hongzhuang's words, everyone present couldn't help but be stunned. This answer was obviously beyond their expectations. That's impossible, Han Schilling said quickly. Miss Han, this is just your opinion. Bewitching has already arranged this matter. Not only me, but my friends will also be assessed here in Tiangang Zone. If you don't believe me, you could check it out. Chapter 1137. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell on Han Hongyi. Xiao Hongzhen and Jiang Yi had always been Bewitching's enemies, and she didn't feel anything about it. However, Han Hongyi's previous words really made her unhappy. Great Elder, you keep saying that I can't compare to Han Schilling. These words are also a kind of insult to me. Because of the problem with my Dantian, there was a long period of time where I couldn't cultivate. Now, my cultivation can't compare to Han Schilling. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang's tone changed. However, based on this point, how can you be sure that I can't compare to Han Schilling in the future? If my Dantian didn't have a problem, it's still unknown who has a higher cultivation now. Bailey Hongzhuang's ink-black phoenix eyes flashed with a sharp and tenacious brilliance. Her voice was low and powerful, and she didn't hide her dissatisfaction at all. In her dictionary, as long as it was an enemy, there was no need to be polite when speaking. Everyone's eyes were filled with astonishment. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang walked into the meeting hall, she had always been modest and polite. Even in the face of Han Schilling's aggressiveness and Xiao Hongzhen's trap, she was calm enough. Unexpectedly, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly attacked Han Hongyi at this moment. However, no one was surprised by this, because the Great Elder's previous words were completely targeted at Bailey Hongzhuang. It was normal for Bailey Hongzhuang to be dissatisfied. Han Hongyi also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. When Bailey Hongzhuang said the word insult, he also felt a lump in his throat. I will use my results to prove my strength. Great Elder, you don't have to be aggressive. When I pass the assessment and enter Tiangang's sect to defeat Han Schilling, I hope that Great Elder can personally admit my strength. Bailey Hongzhuang's words were powerful and resonant. Her exquisite and beautiful face was dazzling, and her deep black eyes were filled with shock. Looking at the power that Bailey Hongzhuang exploded, even in the face of Han Hongyi, her aura didn't lose out in the slightest. Everyone was secretly surprised. If Bailey Hongzhuang was still the young miss of an ordinary dynasty's general's residence, she shouldn't have such power. At this moment, when Bailey Hongzhuang exploded, everyone felt that her aura was very similar to Bewitching's. If they didn't already know Bailey Hongzhuang's identity, they wouldn't be able to connect her identity as the young miss of the general's residence. Bailey Hongzhuang, you think too highly of yourself. Han Schilling's eyes flickered with a venomous glint. She only felt that Bailey Hongzhuang's overbearing aura was exceptionally dazzling, and she was extremely unhappy. Obviously, with Bailey Hongzhuang's identity, she should be despised here, but everyone seemed to have a better impression of Bailey Hongzhuang. This situation was completely different from what she had imagined. However, Bailey Hongzhuang completely ignored Han Schilling, and her gaze was directly locked on Han Hongyi. She was too lazy to argue with Han Schilling. One day, she would use her own strength to shut up all these people who had opinions about her. Han Hongyi also fixed his gaze on Bailey Hongzhuang, and his originally dignified and weathered face was now extremely solemn. Bailey Hongzhuang's words were already a merciless rebuke to him. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's words were very reasonable, and on the contrary, he was forced to go to Liangshan. Chapter 1138. This was something that Han Hongyi had caused himself. Naturally, he had to deal with it himself. When Han Schilling saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had completely ignored her, she was furious. However, she could not be too presumptuous in front of so many elders. Bewitching's gaze fell on Han Hongyi. First Elder, Hongzhuang is talking to you. At this point, Bewitching's attitude towards Han Hongyi was extremely cold. In fact, he had already guessed that such a situation would occur before he returned. If Han Hongyi could differentiate between Tiangang's sect and Han Schilling's feelings, that would naturally be for the best. However, it was obvious that Han Hongyi did not manage to do so. Han Hongyi glanced at Di Beichun, then looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. After Di Beichun's question, he had no choice but to answer. All right, as long as you can do it, I'll admit it. Han Hongyi's voice was low and hoarse. Since things had developed to this point, he could only choose to agree. All right, I'll wait. Bailey Hongzhuang was also not polite. Her delicate and beautiful face was filled with a faint light of self-confidence. Her outstanding appearance at the moment was even more beautiful than before. From the moment she said those words, she had already forced herself into a dead end. She had no chance to turn back. She had to achieve outstanding results in the assessment competition. There was not much time left for her. However, it was precisely because of the pressure that she had enough motivation. She understood that under such circumstances, even if she did not say those words, these people would still force her to this point. Since the result would be the same, she might as well say those words herself. This way, it would make everyone look up to her even more. From a moment she chose to be with Di Beichun, she had already thought about the pressure she would face in the future. Compared to the worst-case scenario she had imagined, the current situation was already pretty good. She would prove to everyone that she was qualified to stand by Di Beichun's side. Now, I believe that everyone understands. I hope that no one will mention this matter again in the future. Di Beichun's voice was full of warning and seriousness, not allowing any refusal. When the meeting ended, the 4 palace masters and the elders walked out of the meeting hall one after another. Today, everyone finally saw Bailey Hongzhuang in person, and Bailey Hongzhuang's performance amazed them. Looks like young sect master's foresight isn't bad at all. Our previous worries were unnecessary. Gu Jingqing's face was full of smiles. He was obviously in a good mood. Initially, he was still worried that young sect master had made a wrong judgment and had found a huge trouble for himself. From the looks of it, not only was this Bailey Hongzhuang not weak, but she was also extremely outstanding. Qin Ai also smiled faintly. We watched young sect master grow up. We should have thought of this long ago. Usually, the women who came into contact with young sect master were all of high status, so young sect master's eyes were naturally very picky. I really like Bailey Hongzhuang, and her actions in the meeting hall today were very protective of young sect master. I think that young sect master would be very satisfied if he saw Bailey Hongzhuang. Gu Jingqing nodded slightly. Jiang, he has already gone to receive his punishment. He must be in a terrible mood. Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing looked at each other and smiled. Previously, Di Beichun had been forced to leave Tiangang's sect, so their power had also been suppressed to a certain extent. Chapter 1139. After everyone had left, Di Beichun held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and walked towards their residence. My dear wife, by saying such words today, you've cut off all paths of retreat. Di Beichun pursed his thin lips, and his deep eyes were filled with worry. He understood that Bailey Hongzhuang had said that for his sake. Since the Grand Elder and the 2 palace masters were being overbearing, Hongzhuang's words could be said to have made him proud. Hongzhuang wanted to use her own strength to tell everyone that his judgment was right. For this point, Di Beichun's heart was also very guilty. Logically speaking, he should be the one to solve these problems. He had always wanted to support Bailey Hongzhuang. However, with Tiangang sect's current situation, he was unable to suppress these voices of dissatisfaction for the time being. Because of this, Hongzhuang had been wronged, and he was extremely vexed. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her head and saw the worry and guilt in Di Beichun's eyes. She tightened her grip on her hand, and a faint smile appeared on her beautiful face. You don't believe in my strength? Di Beichun shook his head. Of course I believe in you. To be able to pass the trial of the Blood Chi Tower, Hongzhuang's talent was needless to say. If Hongzhuang's Dantian had not been damaged, her cultivation level would definitely be higher than Orange Realm Level 1. At this thought, Di Beichun could not help but think of the rainbow sacred pearl in Bailey Hongzhuang's Dantian. If that incident had not happened, Hongzhuang would have been the center of attention in the entire Shengxian continent. After all, launching in of the Lan family was now the center of attention. Hong Zhuang was the true pearl. Hearing Di Beichen's reply, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile widened. That's right, I will definitely pass the assessment. Just as they said, if I can't even pass this competition, then I really don't have the qualifications to be your wife. There was no such thing as fairness in this world. Although there were no conditions for love, there was a huge disparity in status between two people. If they wanted to be together, then they had to work hard to shorten the distance between them. Di Beicheng gazed at Bailey Hongzhuang. At this moment, her faint smile was like a pure lotus that had emerged from the mud, pure and beautiful. His originally heavy heart instantly calmed down a lot. Wife, thank you. After a long while, Di Beicheng only said this sentence. At a time like this, he didn't know what else to say. He wanted to thank Hong Zhuang for her understanding, support, and confidence. Such a strong Hong Zhuang always made him feel an indescribable heartache. Hong Zhuang had gone from being a good-for-nothing who couldn't cultivate to where she was today. Furthermore, the mystery of her background was a heavy burden that pressed down on her. Now, Hong Zhuang had to bear this unnecessary pressure just to be with him. He only felt guilt and heartache in his heart. Di Beicheng, from the moment we were together, we were already one. Everything we do now is for our future. If there's a word of thanks, then it should be me thanking you. If Di Beicheng didn't want to accompany her, then he would have already dealt with the problems in the sect. She also had a certain understanding of Di Beicheng's methods. Although Di Beicheng was still young, he did things swiftly and decisively, never dragging his feet. What's more, he had a lot of means. Chapter 1140. Regardless of whether it was for Di Beicheng or for her parents, she had to participate in the assessment competition. Only by displaying her strength legitimately would she be able to walk down the path she wanted to take. It was just an assessment competition. Even if all the outstanding cultivators from all over the Shengxian continent were gathered, she was still full of confidence in herself. This was because she was also a genius cultivator herself. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beicheng also held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly. With a wife like this, what more could a husband ask for? In the past, he had never thought that there would be someone who would be so considerate and understanding of him. Now, he and Bailey Hongzhuang didn't seem to need to communicate many things. They already understood each other's thoughts. Wife, give me some time. I will solve all these problems in the sect. When you return from the assessment competition, the entire Tiangang sect will respectfully address you as young Madam Sect Master. Di Beichen's beautiful face was filled with determination. This was his promise. His wife would definitely be the rightful one and be the focus of everyone's attention. Today, he would make all the voices of opposition disappear completely. Because Bailey Hongzhuang was the treasure in his heart, he would do everything in his power to not let Hong Zhuang suffer any grievances. And today, he would make those people pay the price for the situation that Hong Zhuang was in. Bailey Hongzhuang's bright eyes moved, and her lips blossomed into a bright smile. Her originally moving face was now even more magnificent, causing Di Beicheng to be dazed. He was so glad that he was able to find Bailey Hongzhuang in the vast sea of people who warmed his heart. He only wanted to be together with her forever as a pair of immortal companions. Seeing Di Beicheng staring at her in a daze, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but wave her white hand in front of Di Beichen's eyes. She smiled and said, "What are you thinking about?" Di Beicheng grabbed Bailey Hongzhuang's small hand. "I'm thinking about how my wife is so beautiful. You're so talkative." Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Di Beicheng, but the smile in her clear eyes widened. Di Beicheng held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly and walked briskly towards the bedroom. This time, returning to Tiangang sect could be said to be the happiest he had ever been. He just wanted to let Bailey Hongzhuang know everything about his past. In a corner not far away, Han Shilling clenched his fists when he saw how intimate Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beicheng were. Damn it, she had never seen this side of Big Brother Di before. If she had not seen it with her own eyes, she would not have believed that this was really Di Beicheng. Moreover, She had never heard such word from Di Beichen. Since she was young, she had never heard Di Beichen say that anyone was beautiful. Now, he was saying such sweet words to Bailey Hongzhuang. She really could not accept it. After Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang disappeared from sight, Han Shilling punched the wall fiercely. The anger in his heart could not be released in this way. If she did not believe it before, she had no choice but to believe it now. This was because Big Brother Di clearly looked like he had fallen in love. My lady, you must not be impulsive. Tao Tsongrong's face was filled with worry. She did not enter the meeting hall, so she did not know what had happened in the meeting hall. She only knew that her lady was in an extremely bad mood after coming out. Chapter 1141. The news from a discussion hall was not spread, so the disciples of Tian Gangzong did not know who had the upper hand in the confrontation between Bailey Hongzhuang and Han Shilling. However, everyone could occasionally see Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen together. Just looking at this, everyone had already guessed that the person the young sect master really liked was Bailey Hongzhuang, not Han Shilling. Han Hongyi had not mentioned this matter since that day. Now that they had reached this point, they could only wait for Bailey Hongzhuang to participate in the assessment. Sanlan School. After waiting for a while, Xia Jiqing and the others found that Bailey Hongzhuang still had not returned, and there was not much time left to participate in the assessment. They were also somewhat helpless. Gong Dage, Hongzhuang has not returned yet. Are you going to the dynasty to participate in the assessment first? Lu Qinyue's gentle and moving face showed a trace of worry. The entire special enrollment class was waiting for Hongzhuang to return. However, the time was getting closer and closer. If it did not leave, it was likely that it would be too late. The assessment was an opportunity that could not be missed for cultivators. Once missed, it would be too late to regret. Listening to Lu Qinyue's words, Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fangyu looked at each other. They were also very helpless about this result. It is reasonable to say that Hongzhuang should not participate in the assessment. Did Hongzhuang really go directly to Tiangang Zone? Dong Fangyu frowned. This kind of opportunity, any cultivator with some strength would not miss it. With Bailey Hongzhuang's level of excellence, this kind of opportunity was naturally not to be missed. It was because they believed this that they had been waiting here. If Hongzhuang does not return today, we will leave at night, Cui Haoyan said. He wanted to wait for Bailey Hongzhuang, but it would take some time to get to the dynasty. If he continued to delay, then he would really miss it. It was reasonable to leave during the day, but he would rather rush at night and wait for Bailey Hongzhuang for a while. Listening to Cui Haoyan's words, everyone nodded. This was the only way. Bai Junyu walked to Xia Jiqing's side and sat down. His handsome face showed concern. Jiqing, if Hongzhuang does not return, you should go back to participate in the assessment first. If you have the opportunity to participate in the assessment, you may be able to see Hongzhuang in the arena. Xia Jiqing looked at Bai Junyu with a helpless and disappointed. Was Hongzhuang really not coming back? Hongzhuang had promised her that she would come back. Now, the entire school, the academy school, was a school. The other cultivators had gone back to participate in the assessment. No matter how strong he was, he had to at least give it a try. If he passed, it would be a great opportunity. Ren Tianxiong and Huan Chuyu knew the thoughts of Gong Shaoqing and the others, but they did not urge them. Since the inter-school competition, Bailey Hongzhuang's position in everyone's mind was very high. They believed that Gong Shaoqing and the others had a sense of propriety and would not miss it. As time passed, everyone gradually gave up on this idea. Hongzhuang was definitely not coming back. It's getting late. Let's get ready and leave. Chapter 1142. When Gong Shaoqing's voice fell, Cui Haoyan and the others also got up. They could not continue to wait. Jiqing, let's go. Bai Junyu looked at Xia Jiqing, who was still standing on the side, and his eyes showed concern. Xia Jiqing looked helplessly in the direction of the school gate. She did not expect that Hongzhuang would not come back. She believed that as long as Hongzhuang wanted to participate in the assessment competition, then she would have no problem getting the qualifications. She must also work hard to get the qualifications. Once she participated in the assessment, she would not be able to see Hong Zhuang for a long time. She did not know when the next time they would meet would be. Good. Xia Jiqing stood up. She believed that the sisterhood between her and Hong Zhuang would not change even if they did not see each other for a long time. However, just as everyone was preparing to leave the school, a black figure appeared in front of everyone. Miss Xia, fortunately you are all still here. He Mu's handsome face showed a trace of emotion. He had rushed back as soon as possible, but the journey was very far. Even if he rode fast, it took a lot of time. Seeing the appearance of He Mu, Gong Shaoqing and the others were stunned for a moment. They did not know He Mu. Xia Jiqing also looked at He Mu in confusion. She did not understand why He Mu would say such a thing to her. You are? Xia Jiqing could not help but ask. Seeing that everyone did not know his identity, He Mu was not surprised. He immediately smiled and said, I am the shadow guard of the young master. The lady has now returned to Tiangang's sect with the young master. After knowing the identity of He Mu, everyone understood and their faces showed a smile. I said that Hong Zhuang went to Tiangang's sect. Cui Haoyan smiled faintly. No matter what, they were finally relieved after knowing Hong Zhuang's whereabouts. Hong Zhuang was the wife of Di Beichen. Her identity was not on the same level as them. For them, the assessment competition was an opportunity for the carp to leap over the dragon gate, and Bailey Hong Zhuang was already the future madam of the Tiangang sect. There was no need for her to participate in such an assessment competition. Everyone nodded. Even if Bailey Hong Zhuang wasn't going to participate in the competition, she had sent He Mu to inform them. This proved that Hong Zhuang still cared about them. Knowing this, everyone's mood improved a lot. Then let's pack up and set off. Xia Jiqing had a faint smile on her face. As long as she knew that Hong Zhuang knew that they were still thinking about her, this was enough. As long as they could pass the assessment and become cultivators of Tiangang's sect in the future, then they would be able to meet again. He Mu saw that before he finished speaking, Xia Jiqing and the others seemed to already know the result. He immediately smiled and continued to speak. Because there are some matters in the sect that young sect master needs to deal with, Madam accompanied young sect master back first. However, Madam asked me to bring you to the Heavenly Dipper sect. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned and looked at He Mu incredulously. They only wondered if they had heard wrongly. What did you say? Zhang Yunfeng looked surprised, but there was some joy in her eyes. Tiangang sect can also take the assessment. Madam is taking the assessment in Tiangang sect, so I came to pick you up. In this way, as long as you get a place, everyone can participate in the assessment competition together. He Mu smiled. Chapter 1143. He Mu nodded. Of course it's true. The smile on Xia Jiqing's lips widened a little, and her pair of clear eyes flashed with a bright light. She knew that Hong Zhuang must be thinking of them. So, as long as we meet the conditions to participate in the assessment, we can participate in the assessment with Hong Zhuang. Zhang Yunfeng's eyes lit up. Originally, they had to go back to their respective dynasties to compete for the quota. Even if they finally entered the assessment, they may not be able to see each other. If they could participate in the assessment together, they would be a team. At the thought of this, everyone couldn't help but rejoice. It was really convenient. One must know that each dynasty only had a few quotas. If they got a quota, they would have to form a team with unknown cultivators to participate in the assessment. No matter what, it would take a lot of time just to get used to each other and form a team with complete strangers. If they met some cultivators who were difficult to get along with, the problem would be even bigger. Xia Jiqing smiled and nodded. Yes, this is really great. Dongfang Yu's gentle jade-like face also showed a happy smile. This should be the best news they had received. Although Gong Shaoqing did not speak, his always cold face also softened a little. If everyone has no questions, let's leave early. There are not many days before the assessment. He Mu said. It would take some time to go from the Kangling College to the Tiangang sect. Since it was the young master and his wife's order, he must do it well. When he thought of the situation when the young master returned to the Tiangang sect, he couldn't help but worry. He grew up with the young master since childhood. As the young master's shadow guard, he was the young master's confidant. He understood the situation of the Tian gang sect very well. Palace Master Xiao and Palace Master Jiang had been trying to find a way to find fault with the young master. This time, the young master took his wife back and would encounter a lot of problems. Although he was not the only shadow guard of the young master, he was very worried and just wanted to go back quickly. Listening to He Mu's words, everyone no longer delayed and quickly said, "No problem. We will leave right away." Lu Qinyue stood beside Gong Shaoqing. Even if she already knew that Gong Shaoqing was going to leave, at this moment, she was still a little reluctant. At this moment, she even regretted not taking the path of a cultivator. If she also walked the path of a cultivator, then she would be able to accompany Big Brother Gong. Big Brother Gong, you have to work hard to get a spot. A beautiful smile blossomed on Lu Qinyue's beautiful face, but a pair of watery eyes flashed with a strong reluctance to part. Gong Shaoqing looked at Lu Qinyue and nodded. I will be waiting for you at the college. If you finish participating in the exam, you must come back." Lu Qinyue's hands gradually closed. In addition to reluctance, there was also worry in her watery eyes. All along, her feelings had been very obvious, but Gong Dage had never expressed his feelings for her. She knew that Gong Dage only pitied her and did not like her. Even though she knew this was the case, she didn't want to give up. At the very least, there were no other women by Gong Dage's side. As long as she continued to persevere, Big Brother Gong might not necessarily dislike her in the future. Chapter 1144. Everyone looked at Lu Qinyue and Gong Shaoqing's reluctant farewell and took the lead to walk towards the school gate, giving the two some space to be alone. Lu Qinyue's feelings for Gong Shaoqing could be said to be very clear to everyone, but unfortunately, Gong Shaoqing didn't have enough response. Regarding this, they couldn't do anything about it. They could only hope that Gong Shaoqing would be moved by Lu Qinyue in the future. If Gong Shaoqing and Lu Qinyue were together, then they would be a perfect couple. Looking at Lu Qinyue's sparkling eyes, Gong Shaoqing felt some heartache and said, "I will be back." After receiving Gong Shaoqing's affirmation, Lu Qinyue's face revealed a smile. At least, the tears in her eyes were accumulating more and more. "Okay, I will always be here waiting for you to come back." Gong Shaoqing nodded slightly. "You also have to work hard." Lu Qinyue nodded again and again. She would definitely work hard to improve her alchemy skills. No matter which sect Gong Dage entered, she would also work hard to become that sect's alchemist. "Take care." After speaking, Gong Shaoqing glanced at Lu Qinyue, then turned around and walked towards Dongfang Yu and the others. Looking at Gong Shaoqing's tall and straight back gradually disappearing, the tears in Lu Qinyue's eyes couldn't help but flow down. She believed that with Gong Dage's strength, he would definitely be able to successfully obtain a place to participate in the assessment competition. Once he left, it would be 2 years. 2 years was enough to change a lot of things. She was worried that when Gong Dage returned, there would be another person by his side. That would be a pain she couldn't bear. In fact, she always understood that Gong Dage only treated her as a younger sister. And she was even more clear that it wasn't that Gong Dage didn't like someone before, but it was impossible for the person he liked to be with him. It was just that he didn't say it out loud. From the time she knew Gong Dage, he was always so cold. He wouldn't take the initiative to speak to unfamiliar women, and he wouldn't show any other emotions other than indifference. However, there was only one woman who was an exception. It was because of this woman's appearance that she became nervous. She was worried that Gong Dage would leave her like this, cutting off all her hope. She used to think that she was an extremely outstanding woman, no matter if it was her appearance or ability. But when that woman appeared, she discovered that there was always someone better. That person was Bailey Hongzhuang. Perhaps other people did not notice Gong Dage's feelings, but she understood. Come to think of it, from the moment Gong Dage took the initiative to talk to Bailey Hongzhuang had a different place in Gong Dage's heart. Other than her, there was also Dongfang Yu who knew about this matter. because they were too familiar with Big Brother Gong, they could understand. When Di Beichun first appeared, Dongfang Yu lost his composure. But wasn't Big Brother Gong also hiding his emotions? It was only because Dongfang Yu's love was too obvious that Gong Dage had never expressed it. When Bailey Hongzhuang admitted that Di Beichun was her husband, it was already an impossible relationship. She was glad that Di Beichun had appeared. Otherwise, she would have no hope at all. If it were any other woman, she would still have the confidence to compete with them. However, she did not have the slightest confidence in facing Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 1145. After seeing Gong Xiaoqing come, everyone's faces showed a smile, and then they followed He Mu to Tiangang's sect. I've always heard about sects, but I've never seen one. I didn't expect to have the opportunity to see Tiangang's sect now. Bai Junyu's eyes flashed with excitement. Tiangang's sect was also one of the best sections. Ordinary people had no chance to enter Tiangang's sect. Now, they had the opportunity to see it, which was a great blessing. Yes, Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang are really good. My greatest wish in life is to become a sect disciple. Cui Haoyan laughed. All the cultivators in Shangxian continent hoped that they could become a sect disciple. Once they became a sect disciple, the possibility of promotion in the future would be greater. However, he had always yearned for it in his heart, but it felt very far away. Now that he could go to Tiangang's sect, he naturally couldn't help but be happy. Zhang Yinfeng walked beside Xia Zhiqing and smiled. Zhiqing, you're right. Hongzhuang will not forget us. Xia Zhiqing smiled, her eyebrows showing confidence and joy. I knew that Hongzhuang would definitely participate in the assessment. She and Hongzhuang had always been very congenial. The two of them got along like sisters. She knew Hongzhuang's temperament very well. Hongzhuang had never thought that Di Beichun would directly rise to a high position. On the contrary, she had always hoped that she had enough strength to stand beside Di Beichun. It was because of this that she felt that Hongzhuang would definitely participate in the assessment. As long as she got a good result in the assessment, at least it would prove her strength. Perhaps others thought that Hongzhuang was lucky to be able to get the heart of Tiangang's sect's young lord. However, she didn't think so, because Hongzhuang was good enough. This was not luck at all, but she was worth it. This point could be seen from Di Beichun's attitude towards Hongzhuang. Zhang Yinfeng looked at Xia Zhiqing with some surprise. She did not understand why Xia Zhiqing was so confident in concluding this result. In fact, when she found out from He Mu that Hongzhuang was also going to take part in the assessment, she was a little confused. Logically speaking, with Hongzhuang's status, there was no need for her to attend. If he could get a good result in the competition, it would naturally be great. But if she didn't get good results, wouldn't it affect her prestige in Tiangang's sect? Under such circumstances, not participating was the wisest choice. Although we can participate in the examination together, whether or not we can obtain the qualifications to participate in the examination competition still depends on ourselves. Gong Xiaoqing looked at everyone's happy faces and could not help but say, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun can let them take the assessment together in Tiangang's sect, which is an excellent thing. Presumably, this matter could not be concealed from the people of Tiangang's sect. If their performance was too bad, it would bring shame to Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang. Participating in the assessment did not mean that they would definitely be qualified to participate. It was better not to be happy too early. Listening to Gong Xiaoqing's words, everyone also restrained their smiles. Previously, they were completely immersed in joy and did not think about other problems. Now that Gong Xiaoqing said this, they also understood a lot of problems. Chapter 1146. As Dongfang Yu's voice fell, everyone's face revealed a serious expression. The cultivators of Tiangang's sect were all powerful people. In terms of cultivation, they naturally couldn't compare. However, as long as they showed good potential, it would be fine. After all, the cultivators of Tiangang's sect had also walked step by step from the current them. They were even more aware of the existence of Han Xiling in Tiangang's sect. Just based on Han Xiling's high and mighty performance in Luoyin mountain range, they were afraid that they would inevitably be noticed by Han Xiling if they went to Tiangang's sect. No matter what, they couldn't become Han Xiling's weakness to attack Hong Zhuang. Yes, whether it's for ourselves or for Hong Zhuang and Di Beichun, we have to work hard, Cui Haoyan said in a deep voice. After He Mu, who was walking at the front, heard the conversation between Gong Shaoqing and the others, his face also revealed a joyful smile. Madam's group of friends were truly good friends. They put themselves in Madam's and young sect master's shoes. Tiangang sect, young sect master's bedroom. Di Beichun's bedroom was very large. Naturally, there was more than one room. These days, Bailey Hongzhuang had been living in Di Beichun's bedroom. Bailey Hongzhuang stood in front of Di Beichun's desk and directly opened the drawer. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's actions, Di Beichun couldn't help but be surprised for a moment. He immediately wanted to stop Bailey Hongzhuang's actions. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's actions were faster. She immediately took out the portrait from the drawer. With a playful smile on her sparkling jade-like face, Bailey Hongzhuang sized up Di Beichun and said, "Tell me honestly, when did you draw this portrait?" Di Beichun's handsome eyes slightly narrowed. "How did you know?" Seeing that Di Beichun was trying to avoid the topic, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't mind. She smiled and said, "That day, I asked Han Xiling to bring me to your chamber, so we came to the study." Hearing this, Di Beichun felt helpless. He had not thought of this. "All right, now it's your turn to answer my question." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled tenderly as she gazed at Di Beichun. Her bright and beautiful eyes seemed to sparkle with countless little stars, illuminating Di Beichun's heart. Looking at the beautiful face in front of him, Di Beichun's eyes became even gentler. He held Bailey Hongzhuang's naughty little hands with both of his hands. His handsome eyes gazed at Bailey Hongzhuang's starry eyes. Di Beichun's eyes were full of affectionate light. "I drew it when I missed you." In the past, he would never miss a person so much. But after parting with Bailey Hongzhuang, he knew the feeling of missing someone. One day apart felt like 3 years. When they parted, he really understood the meaning of this sentence, so he began to draw when he had free time. His painting skills were not good, but his performance was excellent when he drew Hong Zhuang. Because Hong Zhuang's every frown and smile had long been imprinted in his heart. Seeing Di Beichun suddenly gazing at her so affectionately, Bailey Hongzhuang was stunned for a moment. She naturally knew Di Beichun's affectionate feelings. It was just that she happened to come to the study today, so she wanted to tease him. At this moment, when she heard Di Beichun's affectionate words, she was at a loss. Di Beichun looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's gradually blushing face. The smile in his eyes gradually deepened, and the corners of his lips curled into a playful smile. Seeing Di Beichun's fox-like smile, Bailey Hongzhuang finally reacted. "You're teasing me on purpose." Chapter 1147. Looking at Di Beichun, who was smiling like a fox, Bailey Hongzhuang glared at him and said, "I'm going back to cultivate." Now that the assessment competition was getting closer and closer, she wanted to increase her strength as much as she could so that she could protect herself. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was about to leave, he said, "Wife, wait." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichun. She saw Di Beichun walking up to her and holding her small hand. "Wife, I'll take you to a place." As he spoke, Di Beichun had already started walking. Bailey Hongzhuang followed Di Beichun to the back of the bedroom. "Where are you taking me?" Her ink-black phoenix eyes were filled with curiosity and doubt. She didn't know what was so special about Di Beichun's bedroom. "I'm taking you to a good place to cultivate." Di Beichun chuckled. Under Di Beichun's lead, Bailey Hongzhuang followed Di Beichun to a house. Di Beichun pushed open the door and walked in with Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the house in front of her and found that there was nothing special about it. It was just an ordinary house. Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face was filled with doubt. She didn't understand what was so special about this place. "Master, There's an unusual fluctuation underground. Xiao Hei's voice rang out. She looked at the ground strangely. The elemental energy here seemed to be much denser than in other places. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but look underground. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's mental strength was very sensitive. Therefore, even if something was hidden, they would be able to discover it. Underground, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen. She didn't expect Di Beichen's bedroom to be so special. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai weren't ordinary contracted beasts. They were much more sensitive and intelligent than ordinary contracted beasts. That's right. Di Beichen's beautiful face had a faint smile. I usually cultivate here. Then, Di Beichen directly walked forward and chose a book from many books on the bookshelf. Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that a tunnel had quietly appeared on the ground in the middle of the room. It's here. Di Beichen smiled. As the tunnel opened, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately felt the abundant elemental energy in the tunnel. It made her eyes light up. Di Beichen took the lead and walked into the tunnel. Bailey Hongzhuang followed closely behind. This tunnel led straight to the underground and was quite long. As soon as they walked into the tunnel, Bailey Hongzhuang felt that the cells in her body became active and greedily absorbed the surrounding elemental energy. Tiangang's sect always had an elemental energy gathering formation. Under the effect of this elemental energy gathering formation, the elemental energy in Tiangang's sect was more than twice as rich as the outside world. This meant that the cultivation speed in Tiangang's sect would be more than twice as fast as the cultivation speed in the outside world. It was precisely because the sect had such an effect that there would be so many cultivators racking their brains to enter the sect. Once they enjoyed the cultivation resources of the sect, the speed of cultivation would be much faster. There would also be more possibilities for them to reach heights in their lifetime. However, Bailey Hongzhuang clearly felt that the elemental energy in this tunnel was 4 times more than the outside world. Chapter 1148. Not long after, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen arrived underground. Bailey Hongzhuang discovered that this underground was a very simple stone room. However, although a sparrow was small, it was complete. Everything that was needed was available in this stone room. Just by looking at the praying mat used for meditation, it could be seen that Di Beichen had been cultivating here for quite some time. When Tiangang's sect was first established, I discovered that there was a natural elemental energy gathering array here. The effect of gathering elemental energy is extremely powerful. Master built my palace here to allow me to cultivate better. Di Beichen's eyes flashed with a faint smile. Master had always treated him extremely well. For him to be able to raise his cultivation at such a young age, it was inseparable from this stone room. Thinking about it, Master also wanted to stabilize his position as the young sect master. Cultivating here, the speed of improvement would be much faster than other places. Bailey Hongzhuang noticed Di Beichen's gaze and understood the importance of the sect master in Di Beichen's heart. Speaking of which, the sect master was really good to Di Beichen. It was as if he treated Di Beichen as his own grandson. She only hoped that the sect master could break through and return as soon as possible. She also wanted to see this master that Di Beichen was indebted to. Di Beichen quickly recovered his emotions. His deep gaze landed on Bailey Hongzhuang. Wife, you can cultivate here. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Okay. Cultivating here really had the effect of half the effort. She only hoped that her strength would be more stable. Wife, I will be going to the Juyun sect to discuss the assessment in the next few days. I will be back in a few days. You can cultivate here in peace for the next few days. When I return, I will naturally look for you. Even if those people want to find trouble with you, they won't know where you are. It will save some trouble. Lady Xia and the rest still need a few days to reach the Tiangang sect. I believe they will be back around the same time as me. His black eyes were filled with concern and pampering. If it wasn't for the assessment, he wanted to bring Hongzhuang to the Juyun sect. However, time was of the essence now. Raising his cultivation was the most important thing. Fortunately, No one else knew about this stone room other than him and his master. Hongzhuang wouldn't have any problems cultivating here. Seeing that Di Beichun was so considerate for her, Bailey Hongzhuang was touched. "Don't worry, I will be fine here." Di Beichun had just returned to Tiangangzhou. Naturally, there were many things that needed to be dealt with. She could not delay Di Beichun's time. Thinking about it, Di Beichun had been accompanying her outside during this time, which had caused a lot of dissatisfaction. She could not let such dissatisfaction grow. After all, she didn't want to end up with the title of femme fatale. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's understanding expression, the gentleness in Di Beichun's eyes deepened. "I will be back soon." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. "Okay." After Di Beichun left, Bailey Hongzhuang sat down on the stone bed. This place faintly emitted Di Beichun's unique fragrance. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Bai Shi jumped down from Bailey Hongzhuang's body. The three beasts' faces were filled with excitement. This is really a good place to cultivate. Xiao He ran around the stone room. The stone room wasn't big, but it was arranged very well. Chapter 1149. I was wondering why the concentration of elemental energy in Tiangang sect was higher than that of other sections. It turns out that there is a natural elemental energy gathering array here. Di Beichun's palace is located at the spring of this elemental energy gathering array, so the elemental energy is the densest here. Xiaobai could not help but sigh. The sect leader is really good to Di Beichun, giving such a good location to Di Beichun. Logically speaking, such a treasure place should be the sect leader's palace, but the sect leader gave it to Di Beichun as his palace. Just this action alone was more than 1,000 words. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood. There's a barrier set up here. I think the other people in Tiangang sect don't know that there is such a good place to cultivate. This barrier is set up very discreetly, completely isolating the elemental energy fluctuations. If it weren't for Xiao Bai and my spiritual power being very sensitive, we wouldn't have discovered it in a short time. Xiao He said, "This is really a good place to cultivate." Bai Shi lay lazily on the stone bed. Although the stone bed was very hard, the brocade and bedding made it very soft. It only felt that this place was really too comfortable. Even when it breathed, the rich elemental energy would enter its body. Looking at Bai Shi's lazy appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. This little guy was too cute. No matter what it did, it was indescribably cute. Di Beichun must be worried that Han Shilling will come and find trouble with you. However, in my opinion, after the incident in the meeting hall, Han Shilling will not continue to be so unappreciative, Xiao He said. Xiao Bai shook her head. That may not be so. Han Shilling is not a good person at first glance. In order to get what she wants, she will do anything. I don't think she will give up so easily. According to her understanding, some cultivators who thought highly of themselves would be especially paranoid when they lost something. Han Shilling had lived in Tiangang sect since she was young and was a proud daughter in everyone's eyes. She had probably never suffered such a big setback. Now that Di Beichun had rejected her in front of everyone and even openly brought her master to Tiangang sect, it was no different from giving her a hard slap. Just this resentment, Han Shilling would not swallow it so easily. Hearing Xiao Bai's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a cold light. She also had a certain understanding of Han Shilling's character, but things had already come to this. No matter how unwilling Han Shilling was, no use was. It was useless no matter how unwilling Han Shilling was unwilling. Forget it. I just need to focus on cultivating now. I don't need to think about these problems. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand. Her beautiful face revealed an elegant smile. Since she was here, she naturally would not miss such a good opportunity to cultivate. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang closed her eyes and began cultivating. As Bailey Hongzhuang circulated the demon summoning scripture, the abundant Yuan Li in the surroundings flowed into Bailey Hongzhuang's body. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's breathing, it strengthened the Yuan Li in her dantian. Di Beichun's departure from Tiangang sect was not a secret. Han Shilling also received the news immediately. Miss, young sect master has already left the sect for Juyun's sect. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.